Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us today at this Your Overseas Home webinar, which today will be focusing on how to start your buying journey in Florida. My name's Hannah, and I'm one of the team here at the Overseas Guides Company, but you may have come across us and know us as Property Guides or as Your Overseas Home. We've been assisting buyers with their property purchases all across the world now for over 10 years. What we aim to do as a business is provide you with all of the crucial resources that you'll need, understand the process, avoid any pitfalls, and crucially make it as enjoyable as possible for you. It's great to have you all with us, whether you're listening in with us live today or catching up on demand, and we're excited to help you in this enjoyable journey. Now, if you've got any questions for any of our panelists today, please do type them in on the questions tab at the right-hand side of the screen. And we're also going to put it a little bit back on you and ask you that if you've got any questions, we've got some questions from our panelists for you. If you wouldn't mind filling in those polls, which are also accessible on the right-hand side of the screen, just so we can get a little bit of an indication about your buying plans. Now, today I'm joined by two at the moment, but there will be a third industry expert joining us later. First up, you'll hear from Paul Harris of Smart Currency Exchange. Then we'll move on to Tom Luca of Be in Florida. And lastly, Fawad Rizvi from Visas for America, who will be joining us a little bit later. So without further ado, I'm going to start sort of talking you through this exciting buying journey for Florida. So, as I said, these are the key topics that we're going to be going through today: how to start the buying journey from home, how to plan your budget, how to find the right property, and what you might need to know about visas and relocation for Florida. So with the current COVID travel restrictions, we are recommending that people try and do as much research and planning as they can for buying from home. We have a fantastic resource available on the Property Guides website. You can download any of our buying guides completely free of charge. They offer a wealth of resources, step-by-step guides to the process, and useful checklists for you. We'll share all the links to these pages at the end so you can take a look. We've also got a fantastic content team based all across the world who are regularly producing blog pieces, articles, and useful resources to help you buy. So do take a look at our website and you'll find all of these really helpful articles and pieces so you can get a little bit of an insight and flavour for the different countries that you're looking at. Now, the first thing you're going to want to think about when starting your buying journey is obviously the budget. How much money have you got for that gorgeous dream property in Florida? So in order to talk to us a little bit about budget and about creating a plan for currency, I'm joined by Paul Harris of Smart Currency Exchange. Now, Paul's been working within foreign exchange and supporting buyers for over 10 years now. Paul and his team are based in the UK, and he regularly presents at property events and immigration events just like this. So I'm going to hand over to Paul now, and first up I'm going to start by asking him if he can give us a little bit of introduction into Smart Currency Exchange and how they can help us.
Thanks, Hannah. Yeah, hi everyone. We can help you essentially with moving the money over to the States. And a little bit of a background into Smart. We've been around in the industry for over 15 years now. And we're well established as a foreign exchange broker, helped over 40,000 people in very similar situations to yourselves at the moment to really help afford and keep the costs of buying as low as possible when it comes to the exchange rate that you'd be achieving when you're transferring over from, primarily for this call, I'd imagine UK, but from anywhere in the world into the US. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously lots of benefits of using us, but I'm sure we can go through that throughout the Q&A section.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Paul. So I guess, first of all, because people are sort of thinking about their buying journey at home at the moment, how early should they actually be starting to think about budgets and currency? When do they need to really get in touch with you and your team?
I think subconsciously, currency might not have been something you thought about directly, of who you're going to use, what process are you going to use? Are you going to use the bank or whoever? But it's actually probably one of the very first things you do think about. And when you're looking at a property, so say for example, you're just doing some searching online, you're looking at some properties and you'll look at a price point. So you look at a type of a property, how many bedrooms, does it have a pool, etc. But there'll also be a price point that you'll be looking at as well in those filters. And so subconsciously already thinking about the currency side. So as soon as you start thinking about the process of a money transfer or a property purchase, we advise to get in touch at that point, and we can help you throughout the journey. It's not going to be that you come in and we want to do the business and help you transfer the money quickly. We'll look to support you along the journey, keep you in touch with all the relevant people that you're working with, and really help you understand how much things are going to cost for you, how much the actual property purchase is going to cost. But if there are any upfront fees or running fees associated with the property once you've bought it, we can help you understand how much that's going to cost as well. And if we talk to you early in the process, we can really start working with you and try and pinpoint a good time in the market for you, fix an exchange rate, which will then secure the price of the property if you've been fortunate enough to find the dream one for yourself.
That's great. Thank you so much, Paul. And you mentioned there a little bit about fixing the exchange rate. Can you just talk us through what the sort of different types of transfers a customer could do with you?
Absolutely, yeah. So the two main contracts that we do are a spot contract or a forward contract. Spot contract is basically we would agree a price with you, say, for example, today. That price is fixed today. You pay within 2 to 3 days, and we'll transfer the money straight out to the States for you. That's obviously if you're working in a short time period, it works very well. As I said, if you come to us early and we can fix an exchange rate for you, it's called the forward contract. So the forward contract works slightly differently. So if, for example, you agree a price on a property today, or you know exactly how much you want to spend in, say, 6 months or up to 12 months, we can fix, if you're happy with the exchange rate today, can fix that exchange rate for you, and it's held for that period of time. So say, for example, you had agreed a price today and the contracts are completing, say, in 3 months. In 3 months' time, fix and agree today's exchange rate, so you know exactly how much it's going to cost you. So there's not going to be any hidden fees or charges in the exchange rate. So you know exactly how much the property is costing you in dollars and how much it's going to be coming out of your UK bank account as well.
That's brilliant. That's really helpful. Lots of useful advice there for our customers. Now, with all of these great services that you mentioned there about, sort of fixing the exchange rate and the forward contracts and things, how much would that cost a customer?
Sorry, I'll talk about that, and then I'll just quickly go back to the last question. I had a bit of a coughing fit, so I had to go on mute.
Oh, sorry. I thought you'd finished. Sorry. My apologies,
no,
Paul.
No, that's fine. Well, I'll go through the costs first as well. That's the most important thing. We don't charge a fee. So we don't. There's not an upfront cost. So it's not that we book a transfer and say, right, there's X amount fee on top. And similarly for a forward contract, that works with a deposit, and then you pay the balance. So for example, as I was saying, you book the exchange rate for today for up to 3 months' time. So say it's just picking a number out of the air, $100,000. We would fix that price, and you pay a 10% deposit. Now that's just a deposit to secure the exchange rate, and on completion you just pay the remaining 90%. So there's not an extra fee for that. It's obviously a very convenient service for you, but there's no extra fee on top, and there's no fee associated to any of our transfers. We'll make our money in the actual exchange rate, but the rate that we offer for yourself is always going to be the rate that you achieve. And just to quickly, sorry, I had to go on mute to have a bit of a cough. In answer to the previous question, obviously spot and forward are the two main contracts that we do. We do also do orders as well. So we do an order to buy and an order to call. Now, the difference between those is if we have an order to buy, we'll set say, for example, you've agreed a price today, but the exchange rate isn't quite where you want it to be. You have a discussion with the trader, and together you think that there may be a slightly more achievable exchange rate over the coming weeks. We can hold the funds for you in sterling and wait until that exchange rate is hit. And then as soon as that rate is hit, we will transfer the funds at that rate that we were targeting. Order to call is very similar. When that rate is achieved, we'll call you, have a discussion. If that is the right time to trade for you, we'll book the transfer as well. But the most important thing with the orders is we can't actually guarantee that exchange rate. So we can look to try and achieve it, but all of our exchange rates are brought in from the live exchange rate at the time. So we can never guarantee that we will get to that higher point, but we can certainly target it for you.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. Obviously, you touched a lot there on the exchange rates, and this is the sort of $1 million question, I suppose, which I'm sure you and your team are asked a lot. Do smart currency exchange have any sort of predictions or forecasts as to what might happen to the exchange rates between, pound sterling and the dollar, say, sort of over the next 6 months?
Short answer to that question is no. We do write a forecast, and our traders use forecasts, and we look at market data to try and see what might happen in the market. But the honest truth, the advice you should be getting from anyone is that no one knows what's going to happen from one moment to the next with the currency markets. We can forecast these things, so you can make a judgment call. So if we could see potentially if there was an election in the coming year, or if we had things, current affairs with Brexit or Brexit that's still happening, even though it's nothing to do with the States, it still is affecting the pound. Obviously, things with the lockdowns and COVID, there are a lot of factors that can impact the exchange rates, but it's hard to say which way they will impact them. So will it be a positive for the pound or will it be a negative? So the short answer is no. We can't actually say if it's going to be going up through the year or down. We have seen some positive moves over the last few days for the pound, but that's not to say that next week it wouldn't come down, because potentially that something will come out in the news that will affect it. So no, it's very difficult to accurately forecast, and the forecasts that you read are great. There's a lot of good information in them, but they are just predictions at the end of the day. No one can be 100% certain.
Yeah, I understand that. Thank you so much for doing your best to answer that for our customers. Now, in terms of those rates and the market data that you and the team are looking at, are the customers sort of able to keep in regular contact with you and the team so they can sort of understand and get your insight and make a decision when's the best time to trade for them?
Absolutely, yeah. So as soon as you get in contact with us, if you've got your account open, you get assigned to one account manager. They will look after the account for you and look after your sort of needs as much as you need us. Really, you can call us as much as you like. If you wanted to get advice on what the rate is at the time, or tell us about updated plans, that's great for us. We can work really closely with you and adapt what we've set up in the solution that we've already offered. So yeah, you can call us and speak to your trader and account manager as much as you need to.
That's brilliant. That's a great service. Thank you so much. Now, a common question that I know we are often asked in this process is, and especially given the year we've had with COVID, what would happen if a customer had sort of booked a forward contract with you and your team, they paid a deposit, but then for some reason their property purchase fell through? Are you able to support them to sort of get out of that contract in any way?
As far as with the agent is concerned and the actual property side of things, we can't get involved in that side. But certainly, if you've booked a contract with us, then yes, we can help you out with that. So if you've booked a forward contract and with ourselves, and potentially you want to cancel the property purchase, or you find a different property, you need to change the contract, that's absolutely fine. We would work very closely with you on that and let you know, if you're looking at putting more into the contract or cancelling it completely, we'll let you know what the refunds would be on that.
Great, thank you for confirming that. And just a quick practical question here. Obviously, we've talked a little bit about the pound and the dollar, and given that a number of our customers are in the UK, and obviously we're talking about Florida today. Do Smart Currency Exchange deal in any other currencies?
Yes, yeah, and there's very few currencies that we wouldn't deal with. All the major currencies across the world we'll work with. It's just a very small handful that we wouldn't. But yeah, we do deal with other currencies as well.
Thank you. That's great. And another question on the practicalities. How can a customer ensure that when they've placed a deposit with you, that their money is sort of safe with Smart Currency Exchange?
So first of all, we're fully authorised by the FCA and governed by HMRC with everything we do. So we're fully regulated business. But when you send funds to us, that money is safeguarded in a client holding account. So if for example you've booked a forward contract or we're holding funds for you, there's anything to happen to us as a business, that money is held separately. So it's not taken into the smart currency account until we've actually completed the transfer for you and the money has been sent and received at the other end. So anything was to happen, the money would just be completely returned to the account that sent us the funds in the first place.
Brilliant. Thanks for clearing that up. And I think we've got time for sort of one last quick customer question here today. How do you just deal in sort of major property transactions, or can you help customers with other transactions and trades that they might need in the future?
No, we deal with all transactions. There's no minimum or maximum limit that we would work with. So one thing that I mentioned earlier is that we would support you through the whole journey of the process of purchasing the property, and we're aware as we've been doing this for a very long time that the journey of buying a property doesn't actually finish when you buy the property. If you've bought it as a holiday home, or you're looking to move over to the States and you have commitments back in the UK, we know that journey with moving money between the two countries continues. So, for example, just to give you an idea of one of the very popular products that we offer is called a regular payment plan. So, for example, if it is a holiday home, you're looking to stay in the UK, you have it as a holiday home over in the States, there may be monthly bills, monthly taxes potentially over there that you have to pay. We can fix an exchange rate again for up to 12 months, and it works as a standing order monthly for you. You know exactly how much those bills are going to cost. Again, if they're fixed bills in the States, you'd know the dollar price. And then if we fix that exchange rate for you as well for the 12 months, you'd know every month your fixed price in sterling as well. So it's a really, really popular product with all of our clients that are in that situation. Similarly, if you're over in the States and you've got a pension, say in the UK, we can help you move that over. And also we can move it back the other way as well. So it's not just money out. We can bring money back from the States into an account or currency of your choice as well.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Paul. That's been really helpful and a fantastic introduction to our customers listening today about that budgeting process. We will share Paul's contact details with you all after this session. So do get in touch directly with him and the team and see how they're able to support you. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks.
Now, I want to move on to the next part of the buying journey. So you've planned out your budget, you know what's happening with your currency, and now you're going to want to start getting really excited about the best bit, the property hunting. So to kick this off, we wanted to just recommend that you do take a look on the Property Guide's website at our portal. We've got a range of different properties all across the best areas in Florida from some of the leading agents. So do have a look there. But to talk to us in detail about the property hunting part of the process, we're joined today by Tom Luca, a broker at Be in Florida. Now, Tom's been a leader in Central Florida's real estate market for the past 16 years. He's originally a Brit based in Bristol originally, but he's lived in Orlando for over 20 years now. And he's got a real passion for helping you British buyers to find your dream home, just as he did with his family back all those years ago. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Tom and ask him to give us a little bit of background and insight into the Be in Florida business and how he can help you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Hannah. Yeah, just to give you a quick background on Be in Florida, that's our overseas brand for Luca Properties Group. We're a fully licensed and regulated real estate brokerage. So it means any of our agents that you'd be dealing with are licensed to help you through the entire buying process. As Hannah mentioned, we are, from Bristol originally, and have made that transition originally from buying a holiday home in the Central Florida area, and then eventually moving over and becoming citizens over in the US. So we've done the full process and have the knowledge and the expertise to help our clients, no matter which direction they're looking to move in. Again, as I mentioned, we are fully licensed, and that's one of the key things you want to make sure when dealing with an agent in the US, or especially in Florida, as it is licensed from state to state, that you're dealing with someone that has the license and that has the expertise to really help you out in the buying process. On top of our services, we do have affiliates that we work with that can help out with the likes of securing a mortgage, a US mortgage against the property, and then also other affiliate services that you may need once you've bought the property itself.
That's great. Thank you so much, Tom. Thank you for that introduction. So I'd love to talk to you a little bit more about the area that you cover in Florida. Can you just give us sort of an overview of where your expertise is and the particular areas that you cover?
Yeah, absolutely. Our office is actually based in downtown Orlando. So Central Florida's, our niche market, which is going to encompass the main areas in Florida that people want to come to, the likes of, being around the theme parks of Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, International Drive, those types of areas. And again, most of our clients that are looking to come over and buy a holiday home, again, usage, if they're looking to rent it out, there are specific areas that you have to buy in order to be allowed to rent them out on a nightly or weekly basis. So again, those are the types of areas that we're going to direct you in. If it goes outside of Central Florida, we do have other agents and brokerages that we work with that we can refer clients to. So we can still be the main point of contact, and we're looking to buy in Florida, but our niche market is going to be the Central Florida, Orlando, Kissimmee area.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much for clarifying that. And in terms of the area you cover, just to give the customers a bit of a ballpark, I know we've got an example property on screen there from our portal, but obviously you're dealing with this on a daily basis. Can you give us an estimation of how much sort of $200,000 would get a customer as just a ballpark estimate?
Yeah, absolutely. There's actually a nice example on the screen as we speak. That's a community that's within about 5 minutes of Disney World. It's going to be a townhome product. It's going to be anywhere from 3 to 4 bedrooms in a gated resort-style community. It's going to have all the amenities that you're looking for when it comes to on-site bar and restaurant, resort-style pool, gym, everything you're looking for when you're going on holiday. Also, like I said, with the conveniences of shopping and restaurants and all the theme parks around it. So, anywhere from 2 to 250,000 euros. You're going to be looking at 2, 3, 4 bedroom condo, townhome style. Some actually may have their own swimming pools as well.
That's brilliant. Thank you. And what impact has COVID had on the market? Has that had an impact on what sort of customers can expect to pay?
So COVID, it's quite funny. The market was very strong pre-COVID, and we were running at a bit of a deficit when it comes to the amount of properties available on the market. COVID came around and everything sort of came to a grinding halt for a couple of months, purely because people weren't traveling. People had really no idea what was ahead for the future, not just in real estate, but around the world and the economy and everything else. So I think people just kind of held off for a little bit, but now I can tell you it's actually come back stronger than what it was before. Builders can't keep up with the demand. There's multiple offers on most of the properties that are going on the market. And they're selling quickly. So I can tell you that the market itself is very, very strong.
That's brilliant to hear. Thank you so much, Tom. You mentioned there a little bit about new homes being built. Are there any particularly sort of hot new developments that we should be watching out for? Anything that you'd really recommend that the customers listening in today keep an eye out for?
Yeah, so I mean, development doesn't stop over here. And as I said, the builders are constantly trying to keep up. One thing that the developers are doing now, they seem to be more themed resorts. I don't know I know it's not very popular in the UK, but we've got the likes of Jimmy Buffett with Margaritaville, which is a pretty well-known resort. So they've just done a whole luxury resort in Orlando. International Drive, there's over $2 billion worth of development that's going on in that area that's up through to 2022. which are going to be new resorts, again, theme style, family resorts. You've got adult style resorts. So those are the main areas. Again, going back to, the Disney area, and then International Drive is growing. And if someone hasn't been over for the past few years, you probably wouldn't recognize it.
Wow, it sounds very exciting. I'd love to come and visit sometime.
You're welcome anytime.
Thank you. Now, in terms of the costs that customers can expect to pay, obviously we've talked about the initial actual sort of outlay for purchasing the property. Here in the UK, we're obviously used to paying, monthly council tax. Perhaps some of us have sort of, management fees and things that we pay. Are there any regular monthly costs that a customer could expect to pay on their property?
Yeah, so each property is going to differ a little bit, but for the most part, again, when you're buying in a resort style community, you're going to have some fixed costs. One of those is going to be a Homeowners Association Fee. Those are actually based, each homeowner within the community has to pay into the HOA, which is normally a monthly fee. Sometimes it's actually quarterly. And that's to cover the costs of running the community amenities like the pool, restaurants, if there's a gate or any sort of guard at the front of the community. So, all the common areas, landscaping. If you're buying a townhome or a condo, then it also may, cover the exterior maintenance and roofs of those buildings as well. So there's a lot that really comes into the HOA fee. I know a lot of people look at them and get, very scared, and has a very sort of negative vibe about it. But, the HOAs, they also really uphold the value in a community as well, by regulating what can and can't be done by each individual homeowner. So that's going to be your main monthly cost. Obviously, you've got your running costs of the property as well. So you can have your electric, your water, cable, internet, those types of things, which those are going to vary, massively on the size of the property, how many people are going to be staying in it. So something that like a 2-bedroom condo is going to differ from a 13-bedroom house, which, yeah, I said 13 bedrooms. So, but those on average, you're probably going to be looking at somewhere $400 to $500 a month. The other annual fee is going to be your property tax. So in our area, you're looking at anywhere from about 1.25% to 1.5% of the assessed value of the property that you're going to pay on an annual basis. The assessed value is worked out by the county, but it's normally less than the actual market value of the home.
That's really helpful. Thank you so much for clarifying. Just onto some of the practicalities quickly, and before we move on, we've had lots of questions in. How long does the process take? So a customer starts looking, they get in contact with you and your team tomorrow, from initial contact to having the keys in their hand. What's the sort of typical timeline? Yeah,
absolutely. So there's two different types of purchases, and I'll touch on both. One is going to be if you buy new build from, a builder. Most of those purchases nowadays are going to be off plan, because as I mentioned before, the builders are really trying to keep up with the demand there. So there's not too much inventory that's available as we speak. So at that point, once we've signed the contract, normally the build time, whether it be, a townhouse or a single family villa, the build time is going to be somewhere between 6 to 8 months. And then once it's built, obviously we go towards the closing. So on a new build, anticipate, if you said 6 to 9 months on average, that would be a safe bet. If you're doing resale, part of it is obviously sourcing the property. Once we actually find the property for you, we put in an offer and we actually get it under contract. At that point, normally on a foreign national deal, it's going to take somewhere between 45 to 60 days. Most of that time is taken up with the mortgage. So if you are, working with a lender and get a US mortgage, you're looking at that sort of time frame. If you're purchasing cash, it can actually be, the transaction can be completed within 30 days or less.
That's brilliant advice, and it sounds so quick. You're making it sound very tempting to come out and explore Florida. One practical question actually that we've had in from one of our customers listening, Adrian, you mentioned at the beginning just making sure that all the realtors that people deal with are approved and licensed. Is there a particular type of license that they should be keeping an eye out for?
No, so you just want to make sure that they've got their Florida real estate license. So whether they be, an agent, which is a sales associate's license, or a broker, both are fully licensed to help you out in any way. And as I mentioned, we are fully licensed and regulated by the state of Florida. One thing to keep in mind is that our license is only good to sell in Florida. So if you were to look in California, New York, or any other state, again, you want to make sure that that person is licensed in that particular state.
That's great advice. Thank you so much. And now I think we've got time for one sort of final question. And I just wanted to sort of ask your opinion, really. What's your kind of like one key top tip that you would say to our buyers that they should do in their buying journey? One top tip.
Yeah, there's so many of them. I would say put a good plan in place before you start. Sort of have a goal in mind. Make sure that if you are going the finance route, that we get you pre-approved ahead of time. Working with the likes of Paul over at Smart Currency to make sure that that the funds are there and the purchase is actually able to be made. A lot of times people say, they come to us, on a daily, weekly basis, saying that, we want to buy a villa, a single family villa with a pool. And we want to spend $450,000. And we say, great, no problem. And then so we start the search process and we start sourcing the properties for them. And then come to find out, the exchange rate is moved, or, something's happened to where they actually can't afford that home anymore, or vice versa. Maybe they can afford more. So it's really, I think, just coming up with a plan ahead of time that we would obviously help put in place. And then just, like I said, working with a professional like ourselves to make sure that everything goes through smoothly.
That's great. That's great advice. Thank you so much, Tom. Now, I said that was the last question. I lied slightly. We've had another question in from a customer, Andrew, who just wanted to say, if he's hoping to complete on a purchase in around April time next year, how much earlier than that would you recommend he flies out to Florida to sort of start viewing?
So what I would suggest there, and that's the beauty of all the technology that we have these days, is getting in contact with ourselves. Even now, to be completely honest, and again, putting that plan in place. And what we can do is put together a search criteria and sort of a drip feed of properties that he'll see and be able to monitor what's going on in the market and how things are changing, what's going on with prices, etc. As we get closer to that time frame, I would say probably somewhere around January of next year, I would really start pinpointing the actual the types of properties and real candidates at that point. And then once we've narrowed down communities, areas, things like that, I would say come over maybe 30 days before you're really looking to complete on the property, or at least get something under contract. And the reason I say that is that things are moving so quickly at the moment. If you were to come over 3 months before to view a property that you wanted to purchase in 2 or 3 months, then more than likely that property's gone. Like I said, things are moving within a matter of days and weeks. So again, we would just do all the groundwork, make sure that everything was in place, make sure what you're coming over to look at, and then be ready to pull the trigger when you're on the ground.
Brilliant. That's great advice. Thank you so much, Tom, and thank you for all of the answers that you've given today. I hope that's been really helpful for all of our listeners. So I want to move on to the next stage now in the buying journey. So you've heard from Paul, you've got your budget and your currency sorted, you've spoken to Tom, you've found the property of your dreams, and now is the time for you to actually make the move to Florida. So I'd like to introduce Fouad from Visas for America, who can talk to you a little bit about your relocation and what your visa options are. So first off, I'm going to hand over to Fuad and just ask if you can give us a bit of insight and background into what you do and how Visas for America can help our listeners.
Oh, hi there, Hannah. Yes, I've been running a US immigration law firm for about 20 years now, and we concentrate on business immigration, getting folks across to the States under various capacities. I've been doing that for a very long time, very highly experienced in, getting people across. Even with the restrictions these days, there are ways and means to get, our clients across to the States. So, that's a little bit. My
I'm sorry to all of our listeners there. I think we might have lost Fuad there. I know we've been having some technical issues today with connections. I'm hoping that he might be able to come back to us. Bear with me 1 second and we'll just try and get him back. Hiya, I think you're back with us now.
I'm sorry about that.
No problem. If you wouldn't mind just sort of running through just the last couple of minutes of what you were saying there for us.
Yeah, so basically our law firm helps folks get across to the States under various capacities. We do have an emphasis on business immigration, whereby people go across for business purposes to the States.
Thank you. You mentioned there about business purposes. I'm just wondering, is there any opportunity for people who perhaps wanted to retire from the UK to Florida? Are there options for retirees?
As such, there isn't a bracketed retirement visa. So hence, it can get a little bit challenging for retirees, but there are workarounds, whereby we can get retirees across. In effect, if they were to buy a small business, for instance, and, run that business, then they can retire in the States in that respect, but they would still need to have an input in the management of that business, right? The only other visa category that would assist retirees would be the permanent investor visa, which requires an investment of around about $750,000, and that would get the applicant permanent residency in the States, also known as a green card. So at which point then they can, retire, they can work, they can retire, they can do whatever they'd like to do with their lives. So that in effect would enable them to retire. But the other workaround, as I said, is the temporary investor visa, which would allow them, to live their life fully in the States as long as they had management input into the business that they purchase.
Great, thank you. And if a customer is looking to relocate and work for a company based in the US, would it traditionally be their company that would apply for the visa on their behalf, or would it be something that they would do as an individual? Fuad, can you hear me there? Did you hear that question?
With that, yeah, they could work for a company. The work related via previous presidential proclamations, which have kind of restricted many of the work-related visas. For example, there is a H-1B visa, which has a quota of only 65,000 visas per year, which is very, very similar to that, right? So it is quite difficult in that respect. with work visas. But there are such visas as intra-company transfer visas, where multinational is transferring to work in a US entity. That is possible. So there are various ways and means to do it, but the better way, we would say, would be the temporary investor visa, which, with an investment of as little as $80,000 to $90,000 in a business, they could, the client could get across to the States. The work visas are quite limited and they're quite challenging, and the restrictions there, are profound. So yeah, they can be quite difficult to get across on.
Great, thank you for answering that. I'm aware we're having a few technical issues, so thank you to the customers for bearing with us on that today. One last quick question for you before we wind up today's session. How long on average would these visas, if someone was going for the investor visa, how long on average would that process take?
There are a few problems surrounding, the crisis at the moment with COVID, and certain countries are on the red list at the moment vis-a-vis the States. The UK, the EU, Schengen countries, the Republic of Ireland, they're all on the red list at the moment. Things might change, shortly, in the future. But at the moment, that's a problem that isn't on the red list, and then on the basis of which, then they would in effect quarantine in the third country for 14 days, and then they can go across into the States. But that being said, an E2 treaty investor visa can take as little as 2 to 3 months, to process and for the client to get across on. So it is a fairly, good means of getting across, especially pre-COVID, but even now we're getting a lot of clients who are attempting the E2 route and successfully getting across. They just got to persevere. All sides have got to be patient with each other, and eventually they will get across, but it might be slightly delayed, 4 or 5 months, but after which they can get, stay in the States, for around about 5 years at a time. So it's a very good means of getting across to the States, I would say. And it would just mean, budgeting for that, investment, and putting aside a little for, the investment into the visa, because the visa is going to enable them to stay for a concentrated period of time.
Great. Thank you so much for answering those questions there. I'm aware we've had a few sort of technical hiccups on the session today, so thank you to everybody for bearing with us with those. A couple more things just to mention before we wind up today's session. I just wanted to introduce briefly on screen the Property Guides team, who are available to help you with your buying plans. Julia Hope is our expert in the Florida market. It's worth giving Julia a quick ring, and she'll be able to talk you through all of your buying plans, answer your questions, and crucially what she can do is she can introduce you to all of the key experts that can help you with this. Obviously, we've heard from Paul, Tom, and Fouad today on the session, but if you needed help with your tax or financial position, if you were looking for removals advice, anything like that, Julia and her team will be able to introduce you to all of the experts that can support you with your buying journey. Another thing to mention to you all before we sign off today is we have a wealth of these different sessions and webinars available online. Do have a look at the Your Overseas Home website, and you can view any session on demand as you wish. Before we sign off, we're going to pop a brief link up on the screen to the Property Guides website. All of those resources I mentioned at the beginning, from our blog pieces, articles, interviews, case studies, property guide downloads, all of those webinars on demand, they're all available on there. So do have a look at those. Thank you to all of our fantastic speakers and contributors who joined us today. All of their details are on screen for you. We can't stress enough how important it is to speak with these experts as soon as possible to really start making your plans. We will send an email out with a replay link of today's session if you want to refresh your memory, pass it on to any of your friends and family, and we'll include all of these contact details in that email as well. That's all from the four of us today. Thank you so much to our experts for sharing their insights with us today. Thank you all for taking the time to listen, whether it's live with us this afternoon or on demand. And last of all, from me, I just want to wish you a really, really successful property purchase and move to Florida. Thanks, everyone. Bye.